Katherine Hepburn, an icon of Hollywood's golden age, known for her fierce independence, intellectual wit, and unapologetic defiance of industry's norms, lived a life that was far more complex than what the public saw. While she was celebrated for her on screen roles, behind closed doors, Hepburn was leading a double life that few could have imagined. Her relationships, the secrets she kept, and the emotional toll of her personal choices were buried beneath her carefully crafted public image as the free spirited, headstrong woman of Hollywood. One of the most scandalous and hidden chapters of Hepburn's life was her affair with director John Ford. On the surface, Ford was a brilliant filmmaker and a respected Hollywood legend, but he was also a man deeply entangled in personal turmoil. This relationship between the fiercely independent actress and the man who was nearly a polar opposite, emotionally withdrawn, married with children, was the perfect breeding ground for secrets. The affair remained under wraps for years, a forbidden romance that only those closest to them were aware of. Their passion was tumultuous, with Ford being notoriously difficult to work with, and Hepburn constantly struggling to reconcile her feelings for him. In an unexpected twist, their relationship led behind an intimate moment of confession. On Ford's deathbed, he and Hepburn had a conversation that would unknowingly become public, revealing the raw and painful truths about their secret lives. What seemed like a moment of closure instead exposed a betrayal, as their conversation was inadvertently recorded, capturing more than either of them realized. For a brief second, they thought the tape had stopped, but it hadn't. The recording revealed a deep, complex history, a passionate affair clouded by unspoken regrets and emotional turmoil. But Ford wasn't the only man Hepburn hid in the shadows of her double life. Katherine's youth was marked by the loss of her older brother, Tom, at the tender age of 13, a tragedy that would go on to define much of her emotional world. His death was ruled a suicide, but Hepburn's family denied it, creating an unspoken tension around the event. The grief that Katherine carried was something that she never allowed the public to see, shielding herself behind the tough, almost aloof persona. She spoke little about the loss, but the impact it had on her was immeasurable, and it quietly drove the choices she made in her personal life. While she was busy becoming the fearless, iconic actress that Hollywood adored, Katherine Hepburn was also emotionally fractured, unable to fully heal from her brother's death. In public, she was known for her daring roles, her wit, and her candid attitude. But in private, she was grappling with a profound sadness that kept her isolated. She had become a master of playing roles, on and off screen, carefully curating the life she wanted others to see, while hiding the turmoil within. This was the essence of Hepburn's double life, a woman who wore her strength like armor, while concealing the vulnerability that made her human. Hepburn's first marriage to Ludo Ogden Smith seemed like a perfect union on the outside. He was a businessman with socialite status, and their courtship appeared to be the stuff of a fairy tale. But behind the marriage's polished exterior was a growing emotional distance. Hepburn's passion for acting, her career ambitions, and her complex inner world made it impossible for her to fully devote herself to the role of wife. This tension was palpable, and soon the cracks began to show. Hepburn's restless spirit drove her away from a life of domesticity and toward the world of film, a space where she could finally feel in control. She began an affair with Leland Hayward, but this love too was fraught with secrecy, denial, and ultimately rejection. When Hayward proposed, Hepburn turned him down, ultimately pushing him out of her life completely. But then, as if to mock the conventional path she had rejected, Hepburn found herself once again drawn into an affair that no one expected. John Ford, a man wrapped in mystery and alcoholism, became a crucial part of her story. Despite Ford's dysfunctional behavior, their chemistry on the set of Mary of Scotland was undeniable. Ford, a man both respected and feared in Hollywood, began to entertain the possibility of leaving his wife for Hepburn, but he was shackled by his own contradictions. Hepburn, never one to shy away from love or scandal, supported his efforts to divorce his wife. In an extraordinary and almost ludicrous gesture, Hepburn offered Ford's wife a sum of $50,000 to leave him, but the offer was rejected. Ford was trapped, unable to fully commit to the woman who had so deeply captured his heart. However, the drama didn't end there. Hepburn's double life became even more complicated when Ford's increasingly erratic behavior on set began to escalate. He was drinking heavily, spiraling out of control, and pushing Hepburn into a situation she wasn't prepared for. She found herself caring for a man who, despite his brilliance, was incapable of taking care of himself. His dependency on her grew to the point where Hepburn felt trapped in a relationship that threatened both her career and her emotional well-being. In one instance, while filming a movie, she had to force Ford to drink whiskey and castor oil in an attempt to sober him up after a night of binge drinking. Ford's collapse in front of her was not just a personal breakdown, it was a reflection of the fractured love story that defined their lives. As the years went on, Katherine's relationship with both Ford and Hayward began to sour. Ford's professional demands and personal issues took their toll, and soon Hepburn found herself drifting. Despite the chaos surrounding her love life, she managed to maintain a steady career, landing roles that showcased her sharp wit and unapologetic independence. However, beneath the surface, Hepburn was still haunted by the emotional baggage of her past. The loss of her brother, the failed marriage, and the relentless pursuit of her own career all contributed to a sense of isolation that she had worked hard to conceal. The world saw Katherine Hepburn as a woman ahead of her time, unapologetic, progressive, and bold. But what they didn't see was the private world of a woman who had been shaped by loss, love, and personal tragedy. She was a master at living a double life, a glamorous Hollywood star whose love affairs, secret heartbreaks, and emotional scars were hidden behind her strong, confident exterior. Even as she won 4 Academy Awards and solidified her place in cinematic history, Hepburn's real life remained shrouded in secrecy, leaving us to wonder what she might have been hiding all along.